Welcome back, Better Agents. Here in this video, we're talking about how to start and operate a remote insurance agency. But before we get into the video, I want to make sure you know that you're invited to our weekly live show, Agency Success Live. Agency Success Live is a live streaming show that we host live every week here on the Better Agency YouTube channel. It starts at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It goes for about an hour. You're going to see a link down in the description below to register to join the live audience. The live audience takes place on Zoom. We talk about everything from staffing, hiring, marketing, all the areas that are going to help you as an independent insurance agent have greater agency success. Now, there are a ton of misconceptions that agents have when they think about running an agency remote. And I know these assumptions all too well because they were the same things I was thinking in my own head when I launched my second independent agency back in 2018. I thought it was going to be a lot easier running a remote agency than it was running a brick and mortar agency. I can go to the beach. I can go to Las Vegas. I can go to Switzerland. I can work from a laptop anywhere with an internet connection. And while that is in theory on the surface, very, very true, it's 10 times harder running a remote agency than it is to run a brick and mortar location. It's harder to keep up with things like agency culture or accountability with the people on your staff. It's a lot easier when you see the people in the flesh, belly to belly, every single day of the week. And so the false assumption is that I can just run this easier from anywhere and it's completely hands-off. That is not the case. It is so hands-on. So what I want to do for the remainder of this video is I want to dive deep and get very granular on the 3 pillars of a remote agency. Pillar number 1 is the administrative pillar. This is just the stuff you got to get done from an organizational standpoint. This is good if you're starting an agency from scratch and you're wanting to go remote, or if you're thinking about going remote from a brick and mortar location and you want to transition. The first thing that you're going to need to do is you need to have a dedicated office space. Smaller is better. And you're wondering, Nick, I'm going remote. Why do I need an office space? I'm doing this from my home or from a coffee shop or whatever. The reason is simple, and I don't agree with the rules, but these are the rules. You need to be able to appease LexisNexis. LexisNexis is going to be the one that says, hey, you get to write insurance with these carriers, or we're going to allow you to get appointments with these carriers. You need to pass their compliance check. It doesn't have to be an office that you ever go to. Hopefully it's an office that you get for free. It just needs to be as small as possible, and what you really need to make sure you have is it needs to have a locking door, a separate locking door that nobody else can get into. It also needs to have signage or visibility. So what you can do is you can do little vinyl letters on the window or on the door or wherever you can do it, and just something that gives away that this is your location. You also need to make sure you have a locking filing cabinet, as if you're working with paper or something. I don't know, but you need to have a locking filing cabinet so you can lock up paper files. The next thing that I would recommend that you do in your agency is get licensed in multiple states. Get licensed in all the states that you can, all the states where your ideal customer lives. You're a remote agency. You don't have to live and abide by the rules of a brick and mortar location. You can do business anywhere that you have internet connection or Wi-Fi. So take advantage of that. Locate the states that have the most potential for your clients to live there, or have the most or highest premium dollars that you can write in those states. So if you're doing auto insurance, you might want to think about getting licensed in areas like Michigan or Louisiana. If you're doing home insurance, you might want to think about getting licensed in areas like Texas or Oklahoma or even Louisiana, areas where you can write the same amount of policies and make more money. Now, the second pillar that I want to dive deep into is the staff pillar. Who are you going to bring on your team? So what I would strongly suggest for you in a digital remote agency is to hire virtual assistants. Hire people who are overseas, who are taking care of the minutia, the little things that you don't have time to do consistently, the data entry, the data hygiene, processing endorsements, making sure the data in your AMS is good and reconciled and everything is correct, inputting things for quotes, your personal assistant, managing your inbox, managing your social media. I've just given you a ton of things that a VA can do and should do. Now, when it comes to sales producers, this part is somewhat subjective because it really depends on what you want to be doing in your agency, whether or not you want to be writing business or not. It's my advice that as an agency owner, you start to think a little bit more strategic. You have other people write the business. I also understand from an economic standpoint why it could be challenging, or why you might want to write more of the business yourself, whether it's just for fun or whether it's just because of the money involved or what you have to pay somebody. But here's what I would do. I would hire other people to write business for me, and I wouldn't pay them like I would an outside producer. I would hire inside sales reps whose only job is to write the stuff that we get from an inbound standpoint. point, and then I would pay them a very flat salary with maybe some nominal commission. That way you have your fixed cost more aligned to what they need to be. You know what you're spending each month, and you can kind of budget accordingly. Now, I know I just said that these producers are gonna work the leads that you give them, and the first thing that you thought is, where am I gonna get these leads? It's my strong suggestion that you don't try to do this yourself, but you hire a marketing agency that's gonna handle all of your marketing for you. All of your paid advertising campaigns on Facebook, on Google, or wherever, all of the email campaigns to cold audiences or people in the funnel, everything that they can do to drive inbound leads and sales calls into the hands of your inbound producers. This is not something that you should be doing on your own. I know there are a lot of courses out there. I know there's a lot of programs out there, and those can be great. But the thing about marketing is, in order to do it well, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time, a ton of time, learning these platforms, learning buyer psychology, learning marketing fundamentals and basics. That's gonna take up way too much bandwidth, way too much of your time, and that's not where it's best served. You need to spend your time working with your producers, working with your team, building culture, recruiting, running an agency, not being its chief marketing officer. Now, hiring a marketing agency is just one option. The other option is you can sign up for an account at Zoom Info. Zoom Info is gonna cost you anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 in order to generate lists from people that have search history or phone numbers or email addresses, and then you can hire somebody else to go out in an outbound cadence, a telemarketing firm, somebody that can call on these folks to do warm transfers. You can do that. Ideally, in a perfect world, you're doing both the inbound marketing agency and the outbound activities to drive as much volume to your sales team as humanly possible. If I had to do it over again, one of the things that I would do in my agency is I would learn a very tricky niche, something that's very underserved, that not a lot of people go after. I would try to become a specialist in this niche, and I would focus on that. I would think about what the average premium is or what I could generate from that, and if there's some volume there, but I would make it my life's goal to become an expert. And there's a lot of niches that you can go after on the commercial side that I would highly recommend that if you're not thinking about them, you should think about them, and you shouldn't go into it as a novice, but you should get well educated. You should become prepared and equipped to really go after some of these niches. A few of them could be commercial trucking. It could be software. It could be, I don't know, real estate investors. You need to think about these niches that not a lot of people think about because they're not the sexy niches, but they're incredibly underserved, and the premiums are really good. Again, if you want to make more money, write bigger policies. Now, the third pillar that I want to focus on is the technology pillar. You need to think about your technology, make sure it complements the overall strategy. If you're going to be remote, it makes sense to go with technology that allows you to work remote. I recall right as the pandemic hit, I saw agent after agent complain about the technology that they had. It didn't allow for them to really operate in a remote world. It was still installed locally on a computer. It's 2022. You should not have any technology in your agency, in your business, I don't care what business that you're in, that isn't on the internet, that isn't browser-based, that isn't mobile-friendly. If the company has to install it on your computer, you need to get away from that company. That's not setting you up for any level of success. Your technology needs to be browser-based, preferably on Google Chrome or Safari. You need to be able to operate it anywhere. You need to be able to operate it on a tablet, on a cell phone, as easily as you can operate it on your desktop. Here's one that you never thought you needed to tell people in 2022, and that is to make sure your website is on WordPress. I know there's a lot of different options out there. There's Squarespace, there's Wix, there's this, there's that. Don't use any of them. Just use WordPress. Nick, why do you like WordPress so much? I'll tell you why I like WordPress so much, because Google likes WordPress. That's why. I like whatever Google likes because I want Google to like me. So use a WordPress website with Gravity Forms installed. Gravity Forms is just form software where you can put on your website where customers can add, they can enter in their information like contact information, or they could be new lead quote forms, they could be service request forms. This is great because Gravity Forms integrates with Zapier. It integrates with a lot of CRMs. You can just pass the info that anybody puts on that form, and you can pass it into that platform. So use WordPress, use Gravity Forms. This is what you need in a remote world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe. Let me know if you're thinking about going remote or what questions you have, and we'll see you again on the next video.